Hello everyone, my name is Ambal Rodriguez and this presentation will be about e-waste, an environmental problem that Puerto Rico and many countries are experiencing today due to our rapid technology development. First, let's discuss the objectives for this presentation. First, the problem that will be discussed is e-waste. What and who contributes to the problem? Here, I will talk about how individuals, companies, and even the government are part of the problem and also the solution. I will be using other countries as example role models for possible solution and negative examples of what could happen if we do not act immediately and just leave it for later. What is e-waste? E-waste is short for electronic waste. It is a broad word, but the definition often used is the term used to describe old, end-of-life, or discarded appliances using electricity. This definition is according to the e-waste guide info website. Practically everything that uses a battery and/or has a power outline is considered under the general term e-waste. Here, we have an image that demonstrates some examples of most common devices that end as e-waste. I make note that most of these images I have used are not mine, but below each of the images I have given credit to the source. As you can see, the image shows monitors, cell phones, MP3 players, TV, printer ink, audio-video equipment, and others. Further, I will explain why each of these items are dangerous to the environment. How it happens. It is a cycle in which different people contribute to each step, either in a negative or positive aspect. It can be categorized as a waste cycle since, at the end, most things end up as waste, even though the ideal thing would be that most items end up being reused or recycled. The flowchart being presented was found in an e-waste scientific paper, cited on the bottom right side. See how it illustrates the problem with all these arrows in all directions, meaning that everything we do does not affect a single person or thing, but many. In other words, our actions go many ways. First, let's look at the top. We can observe internet usage, demand, electronic growth, and natural resources, all contributing to electronic manufacturing. These contribute to just two major components, use and pollution. Then, we immediately see how use contributes to waste and storage, as well as landfill, and then again, pollution. Just that quickly, it became waste instead of recycling material. As we continue below, we can observe that it goes to other countries, affecting the health of people as it is recycled improperly. After that, it gets to the government to try and create policies to regulate this problem. Notice how only after the problem emerges is that people try to solve it. It is evident we cannot predict the future, but before we make a decision, we can think about the repercussions it will have to others and even ourselves in the future. Why is it dangerous? This is one of the most important slides since it explains why we should recycle and not just throw into the trash our electronics. I have ordered the situations as I considered they will present in chronological order. First, sharp objects. When things break and are not stored in a proper container to prevent the employees that handle the equipment to get cuts or injuries. Second, chemical compounds. Some chemical compounds that are stored inside the equipment may harm the skin, lungs, eyes, and cause other health risks. Third, heavy metals. Heavy metals dissolve into the ground, and after the rain, they go into the water streams. These three hazards affect workers, soils, and water. This will eventually affect crops and affect human health because if we don't have clean food, then the population will get sick. As a consequence, the whole population will be affected in a long-term effect. This is a continuation of the previous slide. These are two charts that highlight the most dangerous and common chemicals. I know that it might be too small for you to read, but I just wanted to demonstrate the amount of hazardous material found in most devices. If this is not alarming to you, then I don't know how to convince you of the great danger this presents. On the first column, it names the element or chemical compound. The second column mentions the source of electronic product where it can be found. The third column, the health risks this presents. Here I have selected 6 of the components that I consider are found in most common electronics and also some that are really dangerous. Copper is used as an insulator. It's hazardous if ingested, in contact with eyes, or inhaled. If prolonged exposure, it may damage target organs. Lead is found in printed circuit board, glass panel, and gasket in computer monitors. It causes damage to central and peripheral nervous systems. Lithium is found in rechargeable batteries. It causes harm if ingested and may affect placenta. Nickel is also found in rechargeable batteries and is slightly hazardous if in skin contact, ingestion, or inhalation. It may affect liver, lungs, and upper respiratory tracts. Mercury is found in relay switch and printed circuit boards. It may harm central and peripheral nervous systems if inhaled. It may also damage the immune system. Calcium is found in chip resistors and semiconductors. It has toxic, irreversible effects on human health. If you're thinking that you don't see any of these electronic parts, it is because they are mostly found on the interior of the devices to store information or conduct electricity for proper functioning. Some companies may have changed the chemicals they use, but this is essentially the problem because those old equipment no longer in use are the ones ending in landfills instead of the proper disposals. Also, if you're thinking that you're smart enough not to eat or inhale this product, you will in an indirect manner. As I said before, if the chemical is diluted into the soil and onto a nearby stream, it will eventually be used for animals or crops intended for human consumption. Also, humans do consume calcium and other elements, but not in such high concentrations as they are found in this equipment. Example of negative outcome. I have mentioned some outcomes from the previous slides like water and soil pollution. Also, we need to consider harming underdeveloped countries as the waste is taken there to illegally burn it or just pile it in landfills, contaminating their environment. On this image, we can observe a harmed cow eating whatever it can find in an e-waste landfill in India. The injury to this cow has what it seems to be some sort of burn from a chemical exposure. I can assure it was not done by humans, since in India, cows are a sacred animal. What can we do? Finally, the solution to the problem I have been explaining throughout this presentation. Proper disposal. Instead of just disposing it in the trash, find a recollection center for electronic waste. Collection centers are designated stations either in electronic stores or community designated areas designed to collect specific electronics. This is an image of a pamphlet the government of Puerto Rico has listed as collection centers with their respective information. Recycling. After disposing them in the proper disposal, the companies have a duty to recycle them. Reuse. After recycling, some parts are still usable. and thus, by combining functional parts, a whole may be constructed. Repairing. If it breaks, but still works, take it to a repair shop instead of leaving it laying around or throwing it away. Give away. If you no longer need the electronic and it is still functioning, you may choose to give it to a friend or a family member. Here, the image from the previous slide. As you can see, it mentions 11 places where people can take the e-waste to properly dispose of them. It is informative, but not user-friendly, since it is not attractive or easy to read. That is why I created this map to better illustrate the locations of the recollection centers so that people can identify easier where their nearest one is. Of course, this image would have to be accompanied by the information in the previous slide for the specific address. Most of them are located in the northeast region, which is an alarming concern because if the center is too far or difficult to reach for the person, then it will be easier for them to just throw it in the trash. Later on, I will give some ideas to enhance the program in the island. Here is an actual image of a recollection center in an electronics store. This one is specifically in a Best Buy store. Best Buy in particular uses the functional parts of all electronics to fix or put together new equipment. Hand out pamphlets in communities. Handing out informative pamphlets in communities with resumed information educates people of this emerging problem. Increased collection centers. As illustrated in the map, recollection centers are limited to certain areas. I suggest that more shopping centers place recollection centers for an easy access to the public. Municipalities should have designated vehicles to recollect electronic waste, or at least designated areas for their community to dispose safely of their old electronics. Some public institutions, like the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez, have collection centers, but not everyone knows about them. We should promote more public collection centers. Offer more electronic fixing classes in the public system to motivate students or interest them in emerging STEM areas. And at the same time, they will be helping their communities by reducing e-waste. In Puerto Rico, Law Number 18 from January 17, 2012 states that from July 16, 2013, nobody can throw a landfill any electronic items that contain cathode rays. This must only be disposed in designated collection centers. Companies should require their clients to bring their old phones when they upgrade to new ones. Also, they could give their clients a small discount for bringing the previous device. Some stores offer discounts if you refill your old ink cartridge instead of buying a new one. Also, if you buy a new car battery and don't bring the old one, they will charge you a fee because the law requires the store to dispose one battery for every one they sell. I think this should apply too for cell phones. In conclusion, there is a program, but it is not being implemented throughout the whole island. We do need more collection centers in the south and west area, like the ones at the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez. If we do not take action, then we will end up contaminating our water resources and crops faster than we think. Thank you.